After the fun of a road course and a short track back-to-back, the AARN gets back to bigger speedway racing this morning at the legendary Charlotte Motor Speedway. Home to NASCAR's longest race for more than 60 years, Charlotte is easily one of NASCAR's most famous staples and home turf for most teams. 200 laps here with just 4 change sets of tires will be excruciating for some. It's the MX Wraps 300 at Charlotte. Welcome to Pit Stop TV in the virtual Concord, North Carolina. I'm Major Cardinale IV with nobody alongside this morning, and it's a pleasure to join you for coverage of the MX Wraps 300. Today's coverage is brought to you by MX Wraps, by the Bully Dog Coffee Company, and by Whiplash Simcams. It is so good to be here with you this bright and early Sunday morning, May the 17th. Drivers are wrapping up their qualifying runs if they haven't already, and we are set to go, as mentioned, for 200 laps, 300 miles here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You see the oval before you. That is the track layout here at Charlotte. You see some of the road course layouts as well. This place looks symmetrical at first glance. It is not. Turns 1 and 2, turns 3 and 4, they are different ends of each speedway. Well, different ends of the speedway, I should say. 1 and 2 a bit wider of a radius, I guess diameter, if you will. Even 3 and 4 just a little bit tighter. And the profiles to each quarter just a little bit different. The pit lane down the front stretch a little bit off as well. Just everything about this place looks like it was done super symmetrically, but it just simply wasn't. Everything's just slightly off. I think that is by design. A quick look at the point standings coming into this morning's race. Zach King on top, Sean Hughes just 18 back, Chris Romano, Jordan White, and Cameron Combs your top 5. King, Hughes, Romano must start from the back of the field. They have not turned qualifying laps, although Romano has, so I think maybe he's just learning how this goes. When you get to the top 3 in the standings, the top 3 drivers must start themselves from the back of the field. I'm sure that'll be adjusted in just a couple of moments. Some highlights on this graphic, certainly Chad Fox being just under the cut line right now, Corey Powell being just in. I believe that is swapped in the last couple of weeks. Christopher Foote now on the outside as well. Mark Bender back on the inside. Casey Gross solidly there in the 8th spot. Doug Scalise still just barely ahead of Coulter Clark. I think a couple of those things are going to change here this morning at Charlotte Motor Speedway. A quick look at the season schedule to see how we've gotten here and where we've got left to go. After this morning's race, these guys race again at Nashville, Michigan, and Pocono before they hit the channel once again at Sonoma Raceway later on in June. And from there, admittedly, there will be a few more races that we do not cover here at Pit Stop TV just to get through the summer stretch as we get closer and closer to playoff racing here in 2026 for the 2026 All-American Racing Network Next Gen Cup schedule. Let's look at exactly how we've gotten here, where we've got left to go. Cars are hitting the racetrack here, 20 of them for today's 200-lap race. This is going to be a long one. A quick look at the Whiplash Simcams race details. There you see 200 laps, 300 miles, only 4 change sets. That's 5 total for the race, whether it's counting the one on the car. That's going to be tough for these guys to get through. 200 laps here is a long time. Let's take a look at your starting grid this morning at Charlotte Motor Speedway. On pole, Coulter Clark in the number 54 Toyota. He will lead us to the green just alongside of Casey Gross. Back in the 3rd spot, Chris Winstone. Man, we just cannot get enough of Chris Winstone lately. 3rd place in qualifying here today on the oval at Charlotte. Chris Romano will start from his outside after winning 2 straight at Watkins Glen and North Wilkesboro. Next up, Sean Hughes and Jordan White. Hughes looking to get back into victory lane. It's been a little bit for him, and Jordan White as well. Simply has not won in a handful of races. Would like to change that here at Charlotte Motor Speedway this morning. Back to row number 4, Zach King, Doug Scalise, a couple of Fords there in the 4th row, just ahead of Michael Alley and Elijah Maupin. Back in the 11th spot, Corey Powell at number 92. Thaddeus Friel out of Louisiana in the 12th position. Justin Young, Mike Rovillo in row number 7, ahead of Mark Bender and Greg Van Nice in row number 8. Row number 9 gives us Robert Hissong and Cameron Combs, a couple of points favorites, starting from deep in this field, just ahead there of Chad Fox. It looks like maybe there was an entry issue with one of the drivers, so we're down to 19. But that's okay. This is going to be a fun one. I'm excited. Charlotte Motor Speedway, always a fun place to race. A quick look at the MX wraps. There we go. Weather conditions. 75.6 degrees in the air, 79 degrees on track, clear skies, and we are in sunset territory here at Charlotte. There you see, 8:03 p.m. in sim. It'll be exciting to see the sun set here this virtual evening. We've got power rankings and fantasy points to get to here shortly. If you haven't made your fantasy picks just yet, well, they're about to close as the field gets rolling off of turn number 4, this time by the MX Wraps 300 at Charlotte Motor Speedway, about to begin. Coulter Clark leading us into the restart zone. We are racing at Charlotte. A quick and easy start spreads the field out on lap number 1. Everybody going to want room to race here this first time around the speedway. That is the idea. On board of Casey Gross, racing in the 3rd position. Make it 2nd now on the outside of Jordan White. That's the battle to turn 3 this time. It was a great qualifying session for the number 77. You see him still up here in 2nd place after just 2 laps of racing. And I thought we had gotten the number graphics taken out from the AM race for NARL, but I guess I'll work on that in the background while these guys get the first few laps underway. You see Jordan White, he's got that green number graphic around his number. Well, that's because he ran the North American Racing League event at Road America this past Thursday. That was their season finale. So that just shows how much Jordan is getting around the racetracks on the iRacing.com sim and trying things out, giving Road a try. Meanwhile, Chris Winstone was on the broadcast for that race. So that just shows you how versatile some of these guys are. I know all of these drivers, they run several leagues throughout the week and different official races and such, but that's just one example, of course, is up front. Things are getting tight for the race lead. Casey Gross is looking for it underneath Coulter Clark. Battle here to the line, and Casey's going to have the race lead. So how about the number 77 shooting up to position number 1, at least briefly, side by side. Here they go. There is one car off the pace, Mark Bender. Might have just heard him by the flag stand from this camera shot. He is 13.5 seconds behind these 2 drivers who are battling for the lead. You see Clark get the advantage again through 3 and 4. At the stripe, it'll be Clark, barely. And here you see from Jordan's perspective, he's just watching these guys go at it. Looking to the inside now goes Jordan White. He's going to pick to help Casey Gross on the inside. So some early battles here at Charlotte. Jordan to the inside of his quote-unquote teammate, Coulter Clark. They've had some differences over on the BRB side of things lately. And I do wonder how that's going to impact the rest of the season over here. Doug Scalise to the inside of Chris Winstone. Battle here for the 4th spot Winstone being shuffled back to 6th. He's a road guy. These oval guys are starting to bring the pressure to him. On board, Zach King. To the outside of Winstone. That will change up position number 5 briefly. And they're still battling, and look at this line starting to grow as Casey Gross has gotten the lead back away from Coulter Clark. And the lights have come on here at Charlotte. You might have seen that quick stutter. And the track suddenly looked a little bit different. Winstone falling back to 7th, racing with Alley, but these guys starting to get this race really going up inside of the top 10. On board, Coulter Clark on the outside of Jordan White. Contact, White into Clark in turn 3. Oh boy. So move Jordan White up to the 2nd spot. Doug Scala back to 3rd. Or up to 3rd, rather. And Scala's going to look to the inside of Jordan White that time through 3 and 4. Nearly giving him a shot there in the bumper. Of course, it's still early. You see just how these guys are starting to spread around the racetrack. The interesting thing for these guys, they were initially set up with 3 sets of changed tires. They have an extra set now. That gives them a little bit more freedom, a little bit more leeway, but they still don't have much as far as tire sets go here today. And that is going to definitely impact, I think, how aggressive these guys are throughout the course of the race. And so when they get shuffled back, you might see drivers decide to stay towards the back, save their tires, get ready for the next run. Maybe even an undercut, a short pit. Zach King, by the way, has worked up from the back of the field to the 4th position. There you see he started technically in 7th, but I believe he had to go to the rear of the field for the green flag, seeing as how he is the points leader, and that is a handicap for each of the top 3 drivers in standings into each race. So King trying to get back through the field. Wondering, don't panic. We're working on the graphics in the background, trying to get a couple of things straightened back out. And that is why iRacing is protesting right now. I know it's bright and early on a Sunday morning. These guys starting to spread out. The racing isn't exactly nail-biting currently. There are some battles a little farther back that we'll take a look at here shortly. But while we continue on here, lap 16 of 200, I'm so curious. Are you watching the NASCAR All-Star Race today? If so, where from? Are you at the track today at Dover Motor Speedway? How excited do we feel? Let's get those comments flowing this morning. This is going to be a longer race. Now, we need a few things to talk about in case these guys get single file for a little while. Just get through this race, and that's the kind of vibe these guys are going to want to settle into. Just get the laps complete. Get through this event. Don't don't get yourself taken out of something early. Don't get yourself caught up in something you don't want to be early. pace yourself over the course of this race. It is a long one here. Why is Golden in literally everything? Well, Golden, if you don't know, is Jordan White. And he's got a whole bunch of friends now that watch Pit Stop TV, and we appreciate you all. But Jordan running second place here currently. He's got a couple of wins here this season. Looking to add one here this morning at Charlotte Motor Speedway on the inside of Casey Groves here for the race lead. Just 20 laps in, and you're starting to see some comers and goers. Coulter Clark has got a ton of pace. I think he's starting to lay back with those tires, save them for the end of this race, maybe. I mentioned earlier power rankings for this league. Of course, we keep them for all the leagues that we reasonably can, and here's a look at them coming into this morning's race. That actually isn't the right graphic. I'll sort that out in the background. Meanwhile, laps complete. Charlotte Motor Speedway, your top four under a blanket. Battle for the fifth spot. Clark and Winstone. A couple of teammates here. They swap positions. Clark falling back. This is, again, I mentioned, the strategy of maybe saving your stuff right now. You only have 4 change sets for the entire race. That's 5 total sets. So break that into, equal runs. You're looking at 40 laps apiece. So you've only scratched the surface of what you need to do in this run as a whole to get to the end of the race. If anything, you want to turn closer to 50 laps. The problem then becomes the fuel limit in this race of just 70%. That's going to limit you to 70% of a 60 lap or so run. I suppose somebody can crunch the numbers on that, but you definitely can only go so far, and it definitely forces you into a couple of certain boxes. I think some guys, you know what, I guess we'll find out. I mean, if you take 60 and multiply it by 0.7, that comes out to about 42 laps. So the numbers now are relatively close if you run every set exactly to its potential of about 40 laps. As here goes Zach King to the inside of Jordan White. This is for position number 2 on the racetrack. They aren't settled just yet. King falls back behind. The idea is, you're taking about 60 laps. That's about how long a cup car can go on fuel on an intermediate racetrack at 100% fuel. Divide that by 0.7 for 70%, and that's roughly 42 laps. But again, that's not an exact science of 60 laps to a run. That's going to depend greatly on how you actually run the run and how well you manage your fuel. With the pace lap as well, these guys had the formation lap at the beginning of the event. That's going to run them a little bit shy on fuel as well. So every driver this morning will need to be very, very on top of fuel saving and tire saving throughout the course of this race. I mean, there's very little room for error. Still watching inside the top 3 here. Casey Groves leading a bunch of laps to get this race started. You see single file now through most of the field. King looks to the inside briefly of Jordan White. Bit of a battle back here. Coulter Clark has fallen back to the 9th position. Also, guys, don't panic. The couple of stutters you're seeing will sort themselves out very soon. I'm just making sure the graphics are in the right place. So, it's just a lot of processes for the computer right now. But look at this guy, Chris Romano. Top 3 in standings now, 2 wins in a row at Watkins Glen and North Wilkesboro. He went from the back of the field up into the top 10. Now he's 7th. Would like to go for 3 for 3. He's on the inside of Robert Hissong, who is still looking for his big breakthrough of 2026. Hasn't been racing quite as often lately. And they both trail Chris Winstone into turn number 1, as those 3 run 5th, 6th, and 7th on the racetrack. iRacing should come back to us shortly. When ATVO exports, it tends to get very resource intensive, and so the export in the background can sometimes bottleneck iRacing, and that is where we are at now. Simply, and there it goes. So bear with me. This gives us a chance actually to take a quick commercial break, and we'll be right back with graphics in the right places. Look at that. There's the white flag from Barney the Flagman. 1 lap to go at Long Beach. White flag is out, brought to you by Whiplash Simcams.
Yeah, can really hold him off. He looked like he's started to gap Cantonio just ever so slightly. Got about half of a second. It's been hovering right around there. Oh, Cantonio really pushing. He's sideways out of turn number 1. But Rayleigh just keeping that car pointed in the right direction. Nice and smooth, able to keep it going. It's going to be tough. Antonio knows that there's not very many chances, even if he can get close enough to him to make a move. So we'll see as they come through 6 and 7, head toward turn 8 onto the backstretch.
The field, nothing changing. Lap traffic ahead. It's Kevin Peak and Bradley Alvis right in front of our race leaders down East Seaside Way. And to turn number 9 all time, lap traffic in the way, and Rayleigh goes for it on Peak. He sends it into turn 9. He knows he can't wait. He knows. And welcome back. A brief detour for the morning. That's okay. Cars are on the racetrack making pit stops, actually, in the case of Chris Romano. So as everything comes back to us, here we go. Several cars headed down the pit lane. Jordan White now heads in as well. He was our race leader. He brings Cameron Combs in along with Robert Hissong and a couple more. As pit stops are well underway. Mark Bender, it seems, just left the pit lane recently or was on it briefly. There's Romano heading back out on the racetrack. He will be one to watch as far as top end of cars that have now pitted. He is ahead of Casey Gross and Thaddeus Friel. Winstone now down the pit lane a little bit late in the cycle. You see, I mentioned these guys wanted to go at least to about lap 42. Here they are going to 47, 48, so they can go a little bit longer than we thought on fuel, it looks like, which is good. That gives them a little more freedom as far as strategy goes over the course of the rest of this race. Caution free so far through 47. As Zach King is now your race leader during this green flag cycle. There he is being passed up by cars that have brand new tires. See White go by, followed by Combs and Gross. White is ahead of Gross, but chasing down Chris Romano, about 1 second behind the 44 car, who has won the last couple of races here in this series. It is now second on the racetrack, chasing Zach King back down. So Zach does not pit this time. I think he's in trouble. And he is coasting into the pit lane. He has got almost no fuel left to go. He had to save to get to this point, and he will barely make it to the pits here at Charlotte. So into the pit lane for King, and he'll start to lose those positions as the pitters get by. Chris Romano now leading. He's got slightly older tires than Jourdain White as they run here at quarter mark in this morning's race. And this is where these drivers would have had to get to on tires if they didn't have that extra set. So if they only had the 3 change sets, they would have had to get to right here. And clearly that would not have worked with fuel. So that was a good change, I think, on AARN's part. Give these guys one more set to bridge the gap to this point. Otherwise, that would have been a little bit weird, but 3 cars now within 1 second on the racetrack. Cameron Combs starting to fight back through the field. He has come from, well, deep in the field. You see lowest of 18th. I mentioned power rankings earlier. Well, before today, the second most recent driver we had seen win was Cameron Combs. That was at Texas. That was the last intermediate race we did with the All-American Racing Network. Actually, their last intermediate race as a whole. So, last time these guys were on a track like this, it was Combs in victory lane. He is now third. If we look at the power rankings, there we go. That's a bit more like it. Coulter Clark is now on top, followed by Jourdain White. Clark is down in 10th right now. I'm not sure what's gone on for him today, but he is not looking good at the moment. Which then turns our attention clearly to driver number 83, who runs second. That is Jourdain White, just 0.8 behind Coulter Clark on the power rankings. Then you see Chris Romano. The couple of wins have done him a bunch of favors. Zach King is down slightly. Sean Hughes still in the 5th spot. Cameron Combs has dropped a good bit. He was on top of the power rankings going into Watkins Glen a couple of weeks ago. And then new to this graphic, Elijah Mopin and Chris Winstone. Of course, we've seen Winstone have some great runs, well, at Watkins Glen. He also finished 4th at North Wilkesboro Speedway last week. That was off Pit Stop TV, but of course, these guys were still racing. And Winstone went and finished 4th on a short track. Seems like maybe he's cut out for ovals after all. And here he is now running 5th in the middle of this longer green flag run. Also, if you didn't know, we do have a fantasy game for the All-American Racing Network. A handful of us made our picks today. A little bit light on picks, that's okay. If you want to get involved, you still can. Plenty of season left to go. There will be some drop weeks getting figured in very, very soon. So race on over to the Pit Stop TV Discord server. You can follow the link there at the bottom of your screen. I can also drop a link in YouTube chat. Don't be shy. Come on in. Start making fantasy picks. You can still pick for BRB this week. That will be at Daytona Road Course. And a few of these drivers, well, I think just a couple of these drivers will be in that race, those being Jordan White and Coulter Clark. As far as standings on the fantasy side, here you go. Jordan White actually leading into today's race. How about that? Sean Hughes second, Zach King in the third spot. I'm fourth, tied with King, but King's got a couple of wins. And you see then it's pretty wide open. Really, us four have been the most consistent with picking. Caution for the first time this morning. Doug Scalise is in trouble on the front straightaway. So the Bully Dog Coffee Company, number 16, will have to get turned back around, and he will. You see the cars come racing by on the outside lane. Thankfully, these guys don't need to race back to the line, or that could have been a little bit crazy. Battle here with Mike Rovillo. Got loose on the inside, and Doug just came around town. Glad he was able to miss that inside wall, though. That could have gotten really bad really quick. And so kind of a nice, easy caution flag here to reset some things. I think a lot of these drivers will stay in their given strategies. If anything, we might just see some fuel stops, but I don't think there's any way these guys could afford to take tires right now. I think you've got to stay on the tires you've got, as you saw the bobble there for Scalise. Here's a look at it from King's perspective. Again, glad Doug was able to miss that inside wall. And you heard there on the replay, King shutting the car down as soon as he could. Pit stops for some, not for all. Cameron Combs leads the charge down to the pit lane, followed by Casey Gross. I think you definitely want to pit under this caution if you can. But track position is important as well. So you see some drivers opting to stay out of the pit lane. Some drivers coming in. Combs is in and out. Fuel only for Combs. Clark will follow suit. And Casey Gross actually is still in the pit lane. Wondering what's going on maybe for Casey in the number 77. I took a look over at Discord chat just to see if perhaps Casey was in Discord today. He is not. We can't even ask what's going on if we wanted to, and I did want to actually, but see Casey's still in the pit lane. He's led a handful of laps today. I know it's not showing there on the graphics since we had to reload into the session, but he has got probably at least 20-30 laps under his belt in the lead. And Chris Romano will now lead the top 6 that have stayed out. That will be Romano, White, Winstone, Vad Nice, Hughes, and Friel under this caution flag. As drivers get reset and ready to go racing for this next little green flag run, a quick look at what's upcoming for us here at Pit Stop TV. How about this? About a week going dark here in the middle of the most busy spring we've ever had here at Pit Stop TV. A chance to catch our breaths. We might have something on the way for you. But Monday evening, the Nora Retro Cup Series heads out to Eldora Speedway for the Prelude. They'll be taking dirt late models to Eldora to emulate what NASCAR, Tony Stewart, and Nextel did back at Eldora Speedway in the mid-2000s. Tuesday, the BRB Sundance Pro Series hits another road course, second in 3 weeks at the Daytona International Speedway. And they'll be back the week after when they head to Indianapolis. You can catch all these broadcasts and more on our social media links there down below. Facebook, Instagram, TikTok, Twitch, YouTube. We've actually got a little more active over on the TikTok and Reels side, so check those out if you get a chance. As here we go, into the restart zone, the whole field back together. Justin Young suddenly out of the race. Back green, 61 complete out of 200. Not a good restart for Chris Winstone. He's up the racetrack. A mad dash to the inside of the number 37. He's gotten put 3 wide. He is being swallowed up by those drivers that pitted for fuel, as Romano will lead around turns 3 and 4. He's got himself a bit of a gap. Back to Jordan White and Greg Van Nice, your top 3. Zach King there on the outside of Cameron Combs. Some drivers did take tires, I think, under that caution, at least based on their time in the pits. It looks like Mopin may have been one of them. He at least spent 30 seconds down the pit lane. It may have been 30 seconds of optional repair. It's just hard to say without having been there to actually review his pit stop. Zach King and that number 51. He's working on the outside of the Spark 75. Now inside of Sean Hughes down the backstretch. Just got clear of the 15 of Combs to make that move. Good a downshift there from Cameron Combs, slamming it in 4th gear for the corner. And boom, in the wall. Cameron Combs going to lose that 6th spot. There goes Coulter Clark on by. His song now looks up from the number 29. He's going to make a pass here, maybe. Oh, some movement there in the background. Thaddeus Friel to the inside. Or rather, that was Mopin to the inside of Friel. At least looking down in 3 and 4. That was a dramatic move down the backstretch. See Casey Gross get the wall. He's up to 10th on this run. Open there in 12th. He's got company from a couple of lap cars. It looks like Doug Scalise and Michael Alley, maybe. Sure enough, it's them. There are a couple of drivers well behind the 8 ball right now. Alley is 9 laps down in 18th. And Rovillo, I'm not sure what's happened to the 2 car. But Michael Rovillo is 19th, 13 laps down. Battle here, Winstone and his song. This is for 8th position. Just how close they get through the corner up to that outside wall and they're on the top lane. It's not quite Darlington levels, but they are up there. Within a car width or so of the wall. Combs is really working it. Man, he was up on the wall that time. That might be a camera to use for him. He's not quite as high up there through 1 and 2 this time, but maybe one to watch, as here comes Winstone on his inside. There we go, a little bit higher that time. That's just a camera we don't get to use very often. It usually requires a place like Homestead or Darlington for us to really use that camera, but today these guys are using the full racetrack. As we continue on down this green flag run, a big thank you to our partners, of course, with the series. Today's presenting partner, MX Wraps, doing a bunch for us here at Pit Stop TV. All of our promotional paint schemes and such that we use for our graphics across the several places you might see them. There you see our partners here at the channel: Whiplash Simcams, MX Wraps, ATVO, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. I also want to talk a bit about Bully Dog Coffee Company, a now longtime partner here of the All-American Racing Network. Founded by Patrick Bowler with nearly 2 decades of experience in the coffee industry, Bully Dog Coffee Company turns the process of making coffee back into a ritual, better supporting your caffeine needs and local dog shelters in the process in Central Arizona. Order your first pound of Bully Dog coffee for as little as $15 with promo code FAST10 at checkout today. That is promo code FAST10. And again, I can get your first pound of Bully Dog coffee as low as $15. And frankly, if you're grabbing yourself a pound of craft coffee, supporting those who support sim racing, I think that's pretty worth it. $15, pound of coffee, sounds good to me. As here we go, battle for 6th. Not done just yet. Windstone took a strike there down to the inside. No dice. Behind these guys, Thaddeus Friel, and that is Doug Scalise on the outside. He is 1 lap down currently, but of course wants all the track position he can get. Also, how about this little fight? This is the final fight on the lead lap at the moment. Mark Bender, Corey Powell. This is for 13th. You know, we had the All-American Racing Network Race for a Cause a little over a week ago now, a week and a day, in benefit of breast cancer awareness. And Corey Powell's wife, Nikki Powell, ran that event, at least in the better half dash portion. And she actually won that race. The wives and girlfriends took to the racetrack. Corey won that, or not Corey, but Nikki won that race. So they've got some winning ways here at Charlotte already. I don't know if maybe Nikki's watching this morning, but congratulations again to her. That was a lot of fun. As here we go, Windstone nearly up into the 75 of Hughes. Watch out. This is the best fight on the racetrack right now. Hughes in 75, Windstone in the 37, Combs in the 15. Let's not forget his song right there in the 29 car, as here comes Cameron Combs on the outside of Chris Windstone into turn number 1. I will say Zach King was very dejected in YouTube chat under that caution, talking about his fuel strategy being out the window. That may be, but he is not falling down the order. 3rd place, he's looking all right. This battle not going anywhere. Technically, the pit window is opening up for these drivers. As Windstone gets down to the inside here of Hughes. This is the battle for 6th. Windstone's got it. He's going to bring Combs along with. And Cameron Combs actually looking to the inside now of Chris down through turn number 2. No dice just yet. You see Casey Gross in the background. All of these drivers, though, chasing Chris Romano, who continues to lead here at Charlotte this morning. And in the wall, maybe Winstone falling back. This is the action on the racetrack right now. This is kind of the meat and potatoes. Everybody else kind of running around the track right now, simply going through the motions, completing laps. And now Coulter Clark has pressure. He's got Combs to the inside. These 5 under a blanket, 5th through 9th. Casey Gross not far back in 10th. But these guys are about 2 seconds behind 4th place Greg Van Nice right now. Combs down to the inside of Clark that time through 3 and 4. And again, these guys can make pit stops really at any time. But the longer they can run now, the more freedom they have in strategy options down the road. So I think these guys will try and stretch this run out a little bit. And now Winstone and Clark. The battle ahead, Zach King, Greg Van Nice, here they are. Front straightaway, third and 4th place. Van Nice trying to leave 4th and take 3rd. This might be Greg's best run of the season right here. See King cover at the bottom that time in 3 and 4. Greg pushes up. So that battle comes apart for now. Winstone still working here on the 54 of Clark. Might have something this time around. 3 and 4, sure enough. Winstone passes on the outside. How about that for a GT3 racer? That nice, taking a look back up at Zach King. This for 3rd. Again, this is looking like it could be a career best for the 24 car of Greg Van Nice. He is looking really good right now. And Combs, he checks up. He falls out of the 5th spot. Winstone to the top 5. Combs falls back. A little farther back, how about this little duo? Elijah Mopin today trying to chase down the number 98 of Thaddeus Friel Jr. That is for 11th position. I asked earlier, it might have been before some of you guys joined the broadcast, but of course today is Sunday, May 17th. We of course have our race here with AARN, but there's more going on in the motorsport world this afternoon, particularly the NASCAR All-Star race at Dover Motor Speedway today. I know these drivers are anxiously awaiting the details on their format for when we go there in July for our version of the All-Star race, though I believe it's going to be a points race. And so that begs the question, what do we think of this year's NASCAR All-Star race, the format, the location, all of it? We'll be having a version of it here in the All-American Racing Network later on this summer. Pit stops. Romano and White immediately follow one another. Well, I guess White follows Romano to the pit lane. Regardless, here they both are. They'll be taking service. You see Thaddeus Friel looks like has followed in the background, and battle here, Vad Nice and King. Neither pits this lap. King grabs the wall ever so slightly. Watch out! That nice across the stripe, but just by a bit. Winstone right behind these guys. The leaders pitted. I would have hit the pit lane right after them. But these three staying on the racetrack at the moment. This is a little bit bold out of these drivers. I just know Chris Winstone wants this lead. To the outside of Greg Vad Nice, Zach King leads again on a long run in a pit cycle. Vad Nice looking to spoil things just a little bit. Winstone trying to find a way by. Combs is right there. I really think if you're the 37 or 15 pit, get out of this traffic, get new tires. Use those tires to get past these guys once they pit. I mean, that's just how that would work out to me, right? You could run these faster laps and cycle out to be ahead of them before the pits are even done. Now they get separated, Vad Nice and King, and that gets the 37 by the 51. That will be for second place at the moment. You see one car off the pit lane to the inside. That was, I believe, Doug Scalise. No, that was Mark Bender. You also saw Sean Hughes in the pit lane. He has come in. As Winstone will finally hit the pits. A slow approach, using a lot of the apron there. There you see your top four. That Nice, I think, might be pitting here. Yes, sir. Let's stop there for car 24. New tires starting to race here on the racetrack. Who was that? Was that Scalise or was that Bender? That was Bender. Oh my goodness. He is all over. He's just been hit by Chad Fox. There goes Bender to the inside. Up the racetrack he comes. Watch out, everybody. No caution. We will stay green just barely. But maybe not for long. Can the 33 get back to the pit lane? There goes Powell onto the apron to miss it. There's Hughes in the background. By the way, White is ahead of Romano. And Bender is just trying to get back to the pits. Can he get back around? Just barely will the 33 make it back to the pit lane. That was scary as we approach halfway. I really just am not sure how this even started. Here he is behind Coulter Clark. Got loose there on the inside of the racetrack. Got the apron. Wow. He nearly clobbered the 24 of Vad Nice. And then right there, Chad Fox just runs smack in the back of him. And Mark did a great job of saving the race car and then just gets hit there. And you see the great job to save it once he came back on the racetrack. You see him get loose there on the power. And then Powell comes through a little bit slow to try and get by, and he does. Here's the moment he got loose, Mark Bender. just as soon as he got back to the power, it tried to snap around, did a great job of hanging on to it. Then Chad Fox comes around. And I'm really just not sure how that happened. I think Fox might have been looking at some other stuff on a monitor or something, but still on this long run, drivers running a little bit extra. This gives them some options later in this run. If they can save some fuel, this could save a pit stop. This is why pitting under that caution was important. Cameron Combs try to stretch this fuel out. They don't need to go too far to make this a possibility. The question really is going to become, can Romano and White run these guys down? I don't think so. I mean, here's Jourdain. He is the top driver on tires. He is in 8th. He is still over a lap behind Cameron Combs, who is into turn 1. There is still time yet to go to figure out exactly how this strategy is going to look. But to be entirely honest, I like this strategy that Combs, that King, that Clark, and Hassan have all put together, which is that much more interesting when you consider Zach King came in the YouTube chat and said, oh, you know, my race is done. My strategy doesn't work out anymore. Well, you just weren't thinking hard enough yet. Really, he's gotten to thinking because he's employing the strategy, but at the time, man, I think he was focusing on the negative, and that just is more evidence to adjust that frame of mind. Don't put yourself down and out before you truly are, as here comes Clark to the pit lane. This could be a bit of an undercut for the drivers that are trying this strategy of trying to cut a pit stop. And Scala's going to join Clark on the pit lane. There's the number 17, or 16 rather. As Clark gets back on the racetrack. And so here's the next thing to consider. There's Jourdain White. He is trying to chase down the 15 of Combs right now. If you look at the lap times between them, he is only gaining, less than a half second right now. And that is a full stint of difference on tires. So yes, these guys are making time this way, but not the kind of time you would expect. As a lot of drivers at the pit lane this lap. King, Maupin, Hissong, and Combs, and Powell have all just pitted. DC Gross still on the racetrack. And so even compared to the 77 of Gross here, who is now pitting, but there you see, even Gross was still not that far off of Jourdain White's lap times. So certainly there is an advantage to having pitted when Jourdain did. And he'll be able to catch these guys up a little bit, but I don't think he's going to make all that deficit back as these guys save their tires and save their fuel and cut a pit stop out. You see the pit stop underway for Casey Gross. He'll get down and away. Things have changed in the top 3. How about Chris Romano? He is suddenly the best of the Chris's. We've got a couple of them here today. can see Winstone driving away from Romano. Winstone's got a 4-lap tire advantage. It doesn't sound like a whole lot, and then truly it isn't. Right now, you see he's making a bunch of difference on the racetrack. He has gotten himself at a second spot and is starting to cruise away from that 44 car. King, Hughes, they do battle here in turns 3 and 4. King's got 12-lap better tires. And so now if we want to cherry pick some drivers to put on our lap time comparison, I mean, certainly we would start with Jourdain White, I suppose, right? We can toss in Chris Romano. Since he's starting to go backwards, we can certainly toss in Zach King. And then let's also include maybe the 77 of Casey Gross. If we look at this, there's just a handful of drivers now across the field at this point. Jourdain White pitted 20 laps ago. He's running 30.3s. Romano put in on the same lap. He's running 30.8s. King and Gross each pitted 5 and 4 laps ago, respectively. They're running 29.9s, 29.8s. So now it's Jourdain White who's on the back foot trying to save as these guys run him down a little bit. Just interesting how these things change, how the swings go throughout the course of the race. And here comes Zach King working through the field. He gets by Coulter Clark. So speaking of those laps that he's turning, Clark only 2-lap older tires, but you see the difference it makes there. I think Coulter is keeping his cards close to his chest. I truly believe he's faster than he has let on to be so far this morning. Oh boy, here we go. Greg Van Nice just ahead of the 51 of King. Van Nice is going to make a move to the inside here of Romano. I think Romano might be in fuel saving. Just not sure why he'd be falling back like this otherwise. Let's listen. I just heard the upshift, so maybe not. Yeah, he's not. There's no way he's saving. He's actually pitting here. He's only gone 23 laps. I don't like this call at all. This is a really puzzling call to me. I just don't quite understand this one. But Romano is in. And Winstone is now listed as the leader. Problems for Jourdain White. Is he dropping out of the session, maybe? And there it is. The PC crash for Jourdain while leading at Charlotte Motor Speedway. You can't make that one up. And so he'll be hoping for a caution and to get back in the session as soon as possible. That is disaster for the driver out of Jamaica. That now puts Chris Winstone at the point and further reinforces that all of these guys who stayed out on this long run to stretch the stop, I think have made the right choice. You see, this is a busy section of racetrack. Van Nice trying to get through some lap cars in Powell and Friel here soon. He's got Coulter Clark, Zach King, Robert Hissong, and Cameron Combs just behind, so the pressure looms. By the way, Mark Bender hitting the racetrack again as here we go. Leaders trying to get by Thaddeus Friel. They will. Here comes Coulter Clark to the inside of Greg Van Nice. That is battle for second. I mentioned I thought Clark was holding his cards close to his chest. There he goes. Right on by Greg Van Nice. He is now just 3.2 seconds behind race leader Chris Winstone. It's about the span of the back straightaway. And this is where that pit window opens up for what would have been Jordan White, along with guys like Winstone, Van Nice, and a couple of others. This is technically where that window will open. They certainly can and probably should go a bit longer, but this is kind of where they can start to think about it. And here there, Combs shutting the car off a little bit, putting the clutch in into turn 3. Let's watch and listen. So you hear the car getting shut off there by Combs. I do wonder if maybe his song is doing the same. Robert Hasong, Zach King side by side. It's hard to say exactly how these strategies are going to pan out, but this could be a very important battle to watch. 29 getting by the 51 car. Clark now the best of the drivers on this strategy. Watch out! Van Nice checks up, getting by, I think that was Free. No, that was Powell. Wow. And these guys are starting to run down the 37, at least Clark is starting to run down the 37. Last lap for these two. Winstone a 30.6, Clark a 30.4. It's just enough to start making ground up on that race leader of Chris Winstone as these laps go by. There's Chris Winstone. There's Coulter Clark. The battle behind them. How about Holmes on the outside? Contact there with King briefly into turn 1. That lap, by the way, for Winstone and Clark, a little bit more even. So maybe the 54 car starting to plateau. As Van Nice looks to the inside of King. No dice. I mentioned earlier, towards the Open, this would be a long haul. This would be one of the longer races, and certainly it is, 300 miles. That is, I think, the longest of the season. It typically is here at Charlotte when they run the Coke 600. That'll be happening in a week's time. So this is always that kind of long haul race. Heck, when the Nora Retro Cup Series was here a couple of weeks ago, they ran 450 miles. And so that means you've just got to settle in, save your stuff. And these guys did a great job of that. If you look at the CC's Business race stats, just the one caution for 3 laps. Otherwise, this thing's been caution-free for now going on 130 laps. And again, this I feel like has been one of the best showings for this series at any point in time this season. You see the 10 lead changes as well, as we've got about 72 laps remaining. See Coulter Clark starting to run that 37 down still, but rather continuing to run him down. Not super quickly or super aggressively, but just continuing to make time. The problem is, Windstone still needs to pit twice. Unless he can save enough fuel to get to about lap 145, which is 15 away. He has run 35 already. I don't think he'll be getting there, but let's listen. Is he perhaps saving fuel? Honestly, I don't really think he's saving much. I mean, he is staying in 5th gear, but I don't think that's really saving him a whole lot, as Coulter Clark is starting to really make advances here, down to 1.5 seconds through turns 3 and 4 that time. Meanwhile, battle for 3rd spot. Robert Hissong having a good kind of comeback day right here. We have not really seen him have those runs like he did earlier in the season too often as of late. So it is good to see Hissong back towards the top end of the scoring pylon. By the way, Jordan White has re-entered the race. He is 6 laps down. Here he is running in 14th. The next driver ahead is 3 laps up. That is Thaddeus Friel. And he doesn't really have any pressure behind. Michael Alley, the next car behind him, to the tune of about 3 laps as well. I think we've just had an engine let go in the pit lane, and I believe it was Chad Fox who has left his car running. That's at least what it sounded like, as Combs in his song battle. 3rd place has swapped hands. That is Combs pulling away. His song now into 4th, and Vad Nice will take a look from the 5th spot. So Windstone and Vad Nice have now run 40 laps each. Again, they've got to go at least another 10, if not 15. Worth watching, by the way, Chris Romano is working to pass Corey Powell. This is for 10th on the racetrack currently. Powell's been on the racetrack about 9 laps longer than Romano. Romano pitted back around 115. I think he's trying to use the tires he's got to the end of the race. I just still am not entirely sure about it. Here we go, Hughes to the pit lane, the 75 car. This is early. However, he's in the same strategy as Chris Winstone and Greg Van Nice, and now Winstone to the pit lane. So sure enough, these guys cannot go the distance. I was pretty confident on that already, but it's good to have the confirmation, I suppose, as these guys will need a caution to even the footing. But they need it at a very specific time, as there goes Hughes down and away, 4 tires and fuel. He'll get back on the racetrack. He is currently 12th as he gains speed. He goes 1 lap down, nearly 2. The next car ahead of him will be Doug Scalise, about 17 seconds up the road. Winstone will be in a somewhat similar boat. There he goes off the pit lane. He's going to be 10th at the moment. Here comes Scalise to go by. And there he goes. Winstone is so ginger in and out of the pit lane. He is so very easy on the car. He's got a long ways to go still, I think, to learn the ins and outs and some of the tendencies you need to employ in this oval racing thing, but he is getting so good so fast. Picking up a lot very quickly. Meanwhile, this puts Greg Van Nice in an interesting spot. He has gone the longest on this run, and here he goes. He's going to pit. He is still, I'd say, about 5 laps shy of where he needs to be. So he can't go the distance either. So they need a very specifically timed caution in about 10 more laps. And Coulter Clark now leads here at Charlotte. It's been a very roundabout way for him to get this race lead, but he's finally got it. And now Winstone trying to come back through the field. There he is behind the 77 of Gross, who still has not pitted. And he will get by that car. Scalise now next up the road for Winstone as he grabs the wall there off of turn number 4. Romano is still the best of the drivers that have pitted again since the caution. But he still has to pit again. While a lot of these guys are about to make their final stop. Clark is in. This is short for Clark even. So he won't be able to go the distance. That is very promising for guys like Romano and Winstone, that they are going to be in the same boat as Clark. Now, Clark can likely come in, splash, and dash at the end of the race. Those other guys might need to take 2 tires, but this is still promising to them. Let's see. Romano goes by. Here comes Powell to go by. Followed by Winstone. Here comes that yellow blur. There goes Winstone into turn 1. Uh-oh. That might be unsafe pit exit for Coulter Clark. He just got up onto the apron there for a second. He may have to come back down the pit lane. We haven't taken a replay in a while. Let's see if we can get a good one here of the 54 car leaving the pits. He was already really close there on exit, just getting onto the apron. And then right here off of turn 2, the right side's, oh, I think that's unsafe pit exit. I think he's going to have to come in and serve that penalty. He's already run a couple of laps since then, though, and he has not yet pitted. Winstone working on Powell. This is currently for 7th. And now we're starting to wonder just how much we actually know about this pit strategy, although Combs, King, his song, they are getting very, very close to where they need to be. And Romano and Winstone are still more than a lap down each. There is Combs. You see Romano now just behind him. Combs is leading, is also saving fuel. And Romano is going to try and make quick work of that 15 car. Romano needs to get all the time he can. This would put him back on the same lap, effectively, as the 15 car if he can just get by him. But both still have to make 2 stops. And it's or rather, one more stop. It's very likely that this will be the final stop for Cameron Combs. Pit stop. Zach King is in. This is, I mean, maybe a couple of laps early, but about on the money for where he needs to be. He has just run 46 laps. This gives him 46 to the end. It might be a stretch, but as of now, before we know how this all pans out, that might be the most perfect move that he could have made. He'll get the undercut on some of these guys that are in the same strategy box, but staying out a little bit longer. Obviously, the trade-off is fuel load. Casey Gross hits the pit lane. Robert His Song hits the pit lane. And this will bring Cameron Combs back to the pits. That green and yellow John Deere 15 gonna hit the pit lane. Romano now is trying to run these guys back down, obviously, while they pit. He will, of course. In fact, there is Romano into turn 3 now, bringing Winstone around the racetrack as well. Romano's got about 5 laps, then he's got to pit too. So then we'll get a real good example of where he's at. I think the problem for him is he's not going to have much of a tire advantage on them. He's certainly a little over Winstone for a little bit. But you see how Winstone is even starting to run him down just a little bit. They are 3 seconds apart. And this is where, if you are Winstone, well, if you're Romano, you certainly want to caution right now, I think. if you're Winstone, you could wait, 10, 15 laps. But there's Romano into the pits. Romano down and away, and I'm watching just how far ahead those guys who have pitted get ahead. And I mean, it is a staggering number. Cameron Combs is just 9 seconds behind Chris Winstone. By the way, Coulter Clark did not have a penalty. I'm really not sure how, but he did not get an unsafe pit exit. He's actually right behind Chris Winstone. So if this race goes like it is, green flag, I mean, he's got the field covered if he can just get to the end of this race. That is, if he's got enough fuel to go the distance. Otherwise, if Clark can't do it, the next driver we look at is Cameron Combs. He most recently won in the MX Raps 250 at Texas Motor Speedway. That was Combs' first win of the season. That was also our most recent intermediate track, much like here at Charlotte. That's another SMI-owned venue as well, and it's another 1.5 miles. So I think now all attention has to turn to car 15. Can he do this? I mean, if this race continues like it is under green, I don't see why not. I think he's easily the favorite. He's 2 seconds ahead of Greg Van Nice, who is 2 seconds ahead of Zachary King, who is a second and a half ahead of Robert Hissong, who is nearly 3 seconds ahead of Casey Gross. Behind Gross, you get to Hughes, about 8 seconds farther back. After Hughes, you've got to drop another 4 seconds to Elijah Mopin. Those are your drivers on the lead lap currently. And hey, good on Chris Winstone getting more oval laps led. I know this is something he's been wanting to try out and just give a good, honest attempt at, and he's been learning a lot. Corey Powell, by the way, working on Thaddeus Friel. These two have been around each other just about the entire race, it feels like. And there's Jordan White out the pit lane. He's still 7 laps down, but that is his final stop of the race. Side by side, turns 1 and 2. Corey Powell, Thaddeus Friel. This is for 12th position. And Powell has just about gotten him clear. He will now. So Friel down to 13th as Michael Alley is in the pit lane. Looking over at our broadcast schedule for the All-American Racing Network for the continuation of 2026, as we have just over 30 laps to go here at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Next up for us, we'll break out the schedule graphic here quickly. Next up for us will actually be Sonoma. So Pit Stop TV will not have coverage of Nashville, Michigan, or Pocono. Those 3 races will be on alternative coverage, at least as of now. Meaning we'll pick back up at Sonoma. We'll then continue with Chicagoland, Dover, Indianapolis, and then we'll be off for Iowa. We'll be back at Richmond and New Hampshire, otherwise known as Loudon. We will pass up over Michigan one more time, and then pick back up at Daytona for the regular season finale, which is just now 12 races away. It is coming up quick. From Daytona, the league has a week off for Labor Day weekend at Darlington Raceway. Then we pick back up with the All American Racing Network right back at Darlington. We had a great race there in race number 6. From Darlington, we're back in action at St. Louis, or Gateway. We'll also have coverage all through October at Bristol, Kansas, Echo Park, or Atlanta, and Charlotte. We then will be passing over Phoenix. That falls the day after Halloween, and frankly, I've got a 3-year-old who currently, I believe, is going to really be enjoying Halloween this year. We got an idea of what we'll do for him for his costume. Regardless, from there, we'll cover the final 3 at Talladega, Martinsville, and Miami. So mark your calendars. Pits.tv will continue to have coverage of the series on a select race basis. Again, Sonoma, Chicagoland, Dover, Indianapolis, Richmond, Loudon, Daytona, Darlington, St. Louis, Bristol, Kansas, Atlanta, Charlotte, Talladega, Martinsville, and Miami. As mentioned earlier, you can catch these broadcasts and so much more on Pit Stop TV's channels across the internet. There's a handful of them. If you haven't followed us yet on these other platforms, we certainly recommend you do so. We're trying to work on our social media game, as they say. Been working with Jordan White and a couple of others to get some extra clips out on the social media platforms listed below. Things that you can share, highlights from races, whether it's Zach King, for example, battling very, very aggressively with Chris Winstone at Watkins Glen a couple of races ago, or we even had the highlight from the BRB race, the finish at Dover from a few weeks ago. That was a lot of fun to put up on social media and see what the reaction was like. So we've got more on the way. Keep an eye out, particularly on Facebook, Instagram, and TikTok. Once again, a big thank you to our partners with the channel: Whiplash Simcams, MX Wraps, Virtus Esports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. And a big thank you once again to Bully Dog Coffee Company. They are such a big reason as to why we are here. Patrick Bowler putting all of his couple of decades of coffee brewing experience into what he does over at Bully Dog Coffee. Again, the name of the game at Bully Dog is more than just coffee, but also helping local dog shelters in central Arizona. That's an area of the country that's near and dear to my heart. I'm originally from Arizona. And so anytime I see someone on the iRacing sim that's from that area, whether it's Patrick Bowler supporting this fantastic league here on Sunday mornings, or Thaddeus Friel, who's originally from Kingman, that's my neck of the woods, around Bullhead City. It's always fun to reconnect a little bit, and it proves just how small this world is, even though, of course, it is large in some ways, it's small in many others. Still leading currently, Chris Winstone, waiting on a caution. He can go about another 10 laps before he needs to pit. And so the question becomes, does he take 2? Is he the only one to pit? Do we have others that have to pit? I mean, certainly we do. Sean Hughes will need to come back in. I believe Vad Nice and Clark will both need to pit again. But that's about it. I think just those 4 at the moment still have to make a stop. And so really the race for the win, I think, is more so Coulter Clark. And he's got 5 seconds back to Cameron Combs. Obviously, this only works out for Clark if he can save it of fuel. I don't think he's saving anything. So he may not be able to go the distance. Which means we turn to Cameron Combs, who's got 6 seconds back to Greg Van Nice, who also may need a pit. Combs putting the clutch in. He's saving. In the event that he can't go the distance, can Zach King maybe save enough? King pitted earlier than Combs. So Combs is, I think, in the best case scenario, as here's Sean Hughes in the pit lane, Combs looks like the most likely to win this race right now. And this might tell us a little bit of what Winstone could do here shortly. Hughes going for 2 and fuel. He's back out on the racetrack now, at least heading back out. So Hughes back on the loud pedal. He will slowly work around the apron there in turns 1 and 2 and get back on the racetrack. He has gone 2 laps down. He is well behind Corey Powell even. That tells you about how deep you're going to fall if you pit now for 2 tires and fuel. Robert Hissong, Zach King, could this be a significant battle as these laps wind down? King making that car wide, holding between out of Hissong back just a little bit longer. Here's a run. Hissong might be taking it low here. No, he'll stay up high. I'm surprised. I figured he would have tried to take that low and get around this 51 car, but he will stay just a little more patient for just a little bit longer. Caution! That is everything that Chris Winstone needed. The perfect time for Winstone in the 37, even Clark in the 54. This gives everybody a chance to re-up on tires and fuel if they've got them. Problems here. This is Casey Gross, I believe Mark Bender, the other car involved. Actually, no, it's Doug Scalise again. Slams the wall. Gross with nowhere to go. There they go, both heavy into the outside wall. Doug Scalise was the lone spin earlier in this race, and he is again. Just got loose, bam, wall, and takes out Gross with him. And again, this tire situation puts these guys in a couple of boxes. And, I mean, the tire limit being so stringent, so strict, is certainly going to help guys who have a little more experience. It's going to help the guys who are already a little bit better, a little bit faster. And here we go, drivers fighting to be the first on a pit lane. Again, that tire strategy being so strict, so few tire sets. I mean, significantly less even than the percentage share of what the Cup Series will have here next week. That puts the ball in the court of the guys who are a little bit better at tire saving as it is. And Winstone has to back into his box. This is going to change things up at the front. But you see the effect. Those old tires for Scalise could no longer hang on. And that was the second time this evening. Here we go, off the pit lane. Mopin first out. Clark follows, followed by Winstone, Combs, Van Nice, King, and Hissong. Now, all that excitement, unfortunately for Mopin, is in vain, and as he is a lap down. And so this does not put him first. While we have a moment under this caution, since it's already so late in the race, I want to hit the North American Racing League Driver of the Day vote. And I want to look at a couple of things. Certainly, as always, I want to look at positions gained. Well, I guess we can't, actually, because we had to reload into the session. So forget that. We will look at laps led. And this only tells a portion of the story, especially as this is not counting Casey Gross's laps led from before we had to reload into the session, nor is it counting all of Jourdain White's. That said, I think Romano might be biting it on strategy, but he's got a chance. He just put 4 tires on the race car. He has got a chance, a great chance, just like anybody else, and I want to make sure that he is on this. I really think he deserves to still be on this vote. And so there you go, all the laps led for him this morning I think certainly fits. Coulter Clark, I know he's kind of been in the shadows today, but look at this, he's positioned himself very nicely. And therefore, he's on the list. Chris Winstone, just on the sheer laps led, again, I don't know how the strategy was going to work out. I don't think it was going to work out in his favor. But guess what? That's now a hypothetical. The caution did come out. That's reality. He is second on this restart. Hasn't been the greatest on restarts, but he's got as good a shot as anybody else. In these final 15 laps, he is in the running for driver of the day. And I'm going to tap Greg Van Nice, who just, I think, is having a career day. And I want to recognize that. So Gregory Van Nice will be in the vote as well. That vote going live over on YouTube as we enter the restart zone to get this race restarted. Here we go, 15 laps to go. Charlotte Motor Speedway racing again in the MXWraps.com 300. A great restart for Coulter Clark. Winstone in second. Combs to his inside. Here comes King. And so again, the restarts get the best of Winstone. But he's not out of it. Combs and King just took advantage. 3 wide, maybe. Winstone's looking around. His song goes on through on the inside. King in the wall. Combs is tracking down that 54 car. But this is the big melee in the middle of the pack. Romano underneath the 51 already. Winstone shoots down the racetrack to block. And here off the corner, King gets the wall. Hughes is making runs on the top side. He gets the wall. Winstone hanging on to 4th over Romano. Clark goes fastest. It's Clark, Combs, and his song at the front of the field. The next time by, we'll have just 12 laps to go. Excluding the 83, who of course had the disconnect earlier in the race. I think these are the 5 best cars in the 5 top spots right now. 12 laps to go. Coulter Clark, Cameron Combs, Robert Hissong, Chris Winstone, Chris Romano. Romano, high, wide, and handsome through 1 and 2. He'll try to get the run to the backstretch. Meanwhile, 2nd, 3rd, and 4th under a blanket. And Winstone, he looks to the inside of his song. He's starting to get a little more antsy. Battle for 2nd. Romano hits the wall hard. 11 to go. The song gets through to 2nd place. All these guys are battling here for 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and on. I think it's going to be in vain if this thing goes green. I think Coulter Clark is gone. Winstone to the inside of Combs. That's good for 3rd, maybe. He slides up. Combs cut him a break. I tried to get to the bumper cam off the 37. Ended up on the bumper cam of the 15. That was just barely clear, though, for Winstone. Zach King just behind here. He is in 6th. He might have something for Romano now that Romano's been in the fence a couple of times. By the way, that time by, 10 to go. Battle for second. Winstone putting pressure back on his song. Looking to the inside of the 29 car. He's got room, just enough down there. Contact, watch out, save it. He does, but just barely. He'll get back on the racetrack in turn 3. Combs on the outside. His song pulling away. What a catch there by Chris Winstone, the so-called inexperienced road racer. He's got some quick hands. As there's a slow car, Corey Powell just suddenly pops up right by the leaders there. Look at that fight in the background. Jordan White mixing up with a few of these guys. Not for position here with Mark Bender. But keep this in mind as these laps wind down. We could still have an incident back here as King will get by Combs. I think Combs got the wall pretty hard. He sure did. He absolutely did. Look at the right side of Combs' car. It is bent in big time. And that career day for Vad Nice has somewhat come apart. It's still a good day for him, but he's back here in 7th. Might get 6th here on Combs. I think he will. But up front, Coulter Clark in the shadows for about 80 to 90% of this race. Right place, right time. Played the cautions perfectly. I think he's en route to 4 wins this season via Charlotte Motor Speedway today. There's the move to the inside for Winstone. This is a battle for second. Winstone and his song. And there, I think Winstone's got him. His song slides back into the 3rd spot. Next time by, 4 laps to go for Coulter Clark. He has got a 1-second gap now back to Chris Winstone. I think Coulter's got it unless we get a caution. But could that 37 car surprise us? Three laps to go this next time by, 4.5 miles left to go at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Chris Winstone maybe having the best oval race of his life to date. He puts a dent in the lead to Coulter Clark. It's going to have to be a much larger one this time, though. Meanwhile, great battle still behind these guys. Greg Vad Nice has gotten by Chris Romano. That is for a top 5. Zach King runs in 4th. He's going to grab the wall slightly. That's all right. Last few laps, use it up. By the way, Elijah Mopin able to get back on the lead lap. He is en route to an 8th place finish if things hold, which is still a good day considering what it could have been once he fell that lap down. Oh, trouble there just ahead of Coulter Clark. Corey Powell just hangs on to it. That's going to slow the 37 down slightly. 1 lap to go. White flag at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Winstone trying to make up 9/10 on this final lap. The road racers surge late. I think it's going to be too little, too late. And the 54, he's already got 3 wins on the season, but Coulter Clark is going to add yet another tally. He's going to victory lane at Charlotte Motor Speedway. The MX Wraps 300 goes to Coulter Clark. You see the nods of congratulation there from a handful of drivers. Oh, and oh boy, what is going on here? from extracurricular there, and that's going to impact Winstone and his song. A couple of top 3 drivers, that might be worth looking at. And burning it down, Charlotte Motor Speedway. Coulter Clark lights up the rears. I tried saying it. This tire strategy, the tire allotment was always going to play into the favor of guys like Coulter, who can save their tires and just position themselves well for the end of the race. Sure enough, Coulter Clark gets it done at Charlotte Motor Speedway. I am admittedly still surprised by Winstone. He did a fantastic job. I mean, maybe the oval race of his life to this point. And then Jourdain White certainly had speed. It just did not work out with the disconnect earlier in the day. And so they'll take the 3-wide formation. And I think maybe White's computer just gave back up. Indeed, that's the case. We'll be talking to your top 3 here in just a handful of moments while these guys get their celebration lap in as they finish first and second here this evening, or well, this morning. It's almost afternoon. Let's take a look at the unofficial race results. Coulter Clark with the win, 27 laps led today. Chris Winstone, I believe, may have led the most. He finishes second, Robert Hissong third. Greg Van Nice, hey, still a career day, I think, for the 24. A big finish for the 24 car today. 4th place, Zach King 5th. Some solid points for all of those guys in the top 5. Romano, a good finish, 6th. I know it's not what he wanted after 2 straight wins. Cameron Combs, and then coming up a little bit empty as well. Elijah Mopin, 8th. Thaddeus Friel, top 10, along with Sean Hughes there at the end. Here you see guys who just did not have it today or had something happen to them that was out of their control, maybe. Powell, White, Scalise, Alley, and Rovilla, your top 15. On back to Gross, Bender, Fox, Young, and Krieger. A couple more donuts, just for good measure for the driver of the 54, Coulter Clark. I do want to look back at just the beginning, or if we can find any, of what happened there between those drivers right at the end of the race. This is back to a couple of laps to go. You see Corey Powell having some problems. Hey, Rusty Rafferty checking in. I believe from the fan zone at Dover Motor Speedway. How about that? Good to see you, Rusty. As, oh boy, Corey Powell got down into the 15 car of Combs here the last few laps. I'm not sure what's going on there. That held up Hughes and White there at the end as well. And then after checkers, boy oh boy, Corey Powell went after Jourdain White, and he takes out Hissong and Windstone in the process. I mean, what is going on here? I'm really not sure what started this. I have a theory though, so give me just a moment. I'm gonna see if I can find something here for Powell. I think I found something here. This is going quite deep in the replay, but I think I may have found what this may have stemmed from. Powell just got loose there, missing one of the other cars, and bam, outside wall. And so that seems to have damaged his car so greatly, so I'm really not sure exactly what's going on for the 92, but we can take a look back anyways at the replay and talk to some drivers. So there he was getting out of the way. So yeah, I'm not sure what this is all stemming from there, but we can talk to our top three here this morning. I guess this afternoon now, as we're just past 12 o'clock here Eastern Standard Time, or Eastern Daylight Time. There we go. Literally 12:01. Let's bring in Coulter Clark with the race win today. This is now 4 on the season, Coulter. And this felt like you were just playing the tire allotment to a T. We didn't have many here today. I think, well, certainly less than what the Cup Series, the NASCAR Cup Series will have next week, proportionally. So this kind of felt like it was in your wheelhouse to save some tires and just be there at the end, and lo and behold, that's exactly what happened.
Well, really, I just lacked pace early in the race, you know. That first stint, I really was just trying to feel around and try to see what worked best for me. I found wrapping the paint on the bottom really allowed me to have enough grip up off exit. So, yeah, I mean, I don't feel like I was the car to beat, but, you know, I'll take it. I felt like I really needed this one. I felt like I hit a brick wall here recently and, you know, just kind of felt stuck.
And of course, this is a big set of points in a race that, like you say, I mean, it wasn't always within your grasp, but a couple of times there it felt like maybe the strategy was not going to work out. How timely was that last caution?
It really helped. I would have had to pit for fuel. I think Cameron was really close, or he was going to make it. So it was probably going to be his race. But yeah, just that caution really helped. And then, you know, getting off pit road first and being the control car really allowed me to just pull away with it and then just take those last couple of laps easy and get it to the line.
And from here, of course, we have, I think, a week off for the series. For us, we are back in coverage at Sonoma, but that comes after a handful of races that I feel like might, again, be towards your wheelhouse, Coulter. We're talking Nashville, I believe, is next up, then Michigan and Pocono. Those each feel like racetracks where you could potentially have up to 7 wins by the time we get back to Sonoma.
I'd hope so, but, you know, just gonna stay humble here and just keep pushing for good finishes. You know, I'm just trying to rack up as many points as I can before we get to the playoffs and try and put myself in the best position I can. So, just got to keep doing what I'm doing.
And how about that guy finishing second place? On paper, you guys are teammates. I don't know exactly how much you guys worked together throughout the week, but the road racer, he nearly had you there at the end. He got that gap down to a half second.
Yeah, he was way faster than I thought he was going to be. I think he said he didn't have any practice coming in tonight. So, well, this morning. So, yeah, hats off to him. And man, I think he's definitely going to be somebody got to watch for every week.
So there you go. Coulter Clark, another win here in the All-American Racing Network. 4 now on the season. Hey, congratulations. Hopefully we'll talk to you again soon.
Yeah, I just want to thank my my grandpa. I know he's out there watching. And then, you know, all the sponsors, you, of course, Pit Stop TV, Whiplash, TVO Designs, you know, MX Wraps, all the guys that make this possible, you know, even some personal sponsors like Spotify and stuff, you know, Red Bull. So,
and this was the MX Wraps 300, so how fitting to have an MX Wraps paint in Victory Lane. Congratulations, Coulter.
Thank you.
Coulter Clark gets it done. Charlotte Motor Speedway belongs to driver 54 here this evening. Chris Winstone comes up second place. And hey, go back one broadcast here on the channel, Chris. It was Thursday evening. We had amateur drivers from the North American Racing League at Road America, and you were doing some... Well, I think I might have done the interviews. I think you might have done one. I don't know. Regardless, you were on the broadcast side. Fast forward one broadcast, you're on the driver's side getting interviewed again. Here we are. Can you believe second place here at Charlotte with a bunch of laps led, maybe the most?
I mean, honestly, yeah, I didn't expect, to be that far up on pace. And I wasn't sure what the long run would be like. We got a lot of laps in at Charlotte the past, couple weeks. So I was pretty well spun up on that. I just didn't do the cup car until this morning. So I was kind of glad I got the grips with that quick. But, I mean, I got to work on my race starts, man. If I don't lose 5 or 6 positions every start and just digging these holes for myself, if I don't, blow past the pit box, I just got to work on minimizing the mistakes. But, yeah, I mean, I'm still just real stoked about P2. It's awesome, yeah.
And it seemed like the one Achilles heel for you, I know you listed a couple of things there, it seemed like the biggest Achilles heel was maybe restarts. What is different for you with restarts here on the oval side versus the one start you typically have in a road race?
Well, that's the thing. With the road racing, I mean, you start and you're basically on the straight every time with very few exceptions. So you get fully up to speed, and it's usually a hard braking zone into turn 1. And so there's not really any grip issues, really, but I still feel like if I keep it pinned, and I think what happened is the first truck race I did on the first start, I kept it pinned around turn 1 here, and I nearly lost it and went into the wall. So now I think it just has me spooked where I'm lifting out to 90% throttle and nobody else is, obviously, so then they go flying past me. So basically, I just need to be brave, just keep my foot in. Maybe the P2 will help with a little bit of that pressure because it's okay, I got a result now. Let's just try to work on that. So.
Of course, this certainly bodes well for future races here. You're in the driver of the day vote, most laps led here. You're actually tied right now with Coulter in the driver of the day votes. We're going to share that link around, try to get some more votes maybe, but I mean, this certainly bodes well. As we head to more racetracks, though, things are going to continue to be different. I think more different. On the road side, you're applying the same principles for the most part to each racetrack, but I think each racetrack on the oval side requires something just a little bit different out of the driver. So as we get to racetracks like Nashville, Michigan, and Pocono coming up, the next 3 ovals, how do you kind of step in and try to, I guess, be a student of guys like Jourdain White, Coulter Clark, even Zach Murtis and Zach King, and learn those tracks before we get there?
Yeah, I think that's the main thing, is just kind of finding, luckily we got a good group of guys in here. I mean, people get a little heated after the race, but that's racing, and then, we're all cool afterwards, it seems. So just finding, people I can lean on and pick their brains and figure out, the trick to each one. There's a few weird bumps here, and I know I'm looking forward to Pocono because I haven't done that since, I don't know, probably the 2009 NASCAR game, somewhere in there. So that's probably the only time, I think. So no idea how that works. The only thing I know about that is it has 3 corners, so or turns, I guess. But we'll see. I got plenty of guys I can get some help from, and then especially with Jourdain, I can trade a little bit of road course knowledge. So good currency for trade there.
Well, Chris, it's good to talk to you as always. 52 laps led. I can't get over that. The most of any driver this evening. We're still waiting on that driver of the day vote to be broken, but in the meantime, it's good to talk to you. Congratulations.
Yeah, thanks. Just want to thank you guys. Obviously, Pit Stop TV, always good show. The Whiplash Simcams, Whiplash Creative, MX Rap, CC's Business, TZO Designs, NARL. Obviously, for getting me started in league racing at all. Murders Esports, Whiplash Racing, and Bully Dog Coffee. So, really appreciate it. Thanks, everybody.
There you go, Chris Winstone. Sounded like a seasoned professional here on the oval side. All the sponsor readouts and everything. Chris Winstone, second place tonight, or this afternoon. There we go, at Charlotte Motor Speedway. Robert, his song comes home third, kind of a flying under the radar kind of day for you, Robert. I know earlier in the season we were kind of bullish on the 29 car. You had a couple of weeks where you missed a couple of races, but here we are, back into, it feels like mid-season form for you. Third place tonight. This feels like you getting back to where you should be, right?
Yeah, no, I just got some life stuff going on. Had to miss a few races. Probably gonna miss a few more. So, just trying to get top fives. Try to get a win at least here in the next couple weeks. Other than that, it was a good race. Didn't get any practice. Didn't qualify. So I'll take that as kind of a win in my book without doing any practice or anything. If I would have practiced, I probably could have ran a little better.
I'd say the next few races certainly will require practice. I think you guys have a week or two off here, but then it's Nashville, Michigan, and Pocono before we resume coverage at Sonoma. And so even the next 4 tracks really going to beg a lot of you on the practice side. So you mentioned missing some more races. Out of those 4 coming up, which ones do you expect to be at, and how practice heavy will they be for you?
Well, as far as the next upcoming tracks go, I would have to say really the one track that I'm really gonna point out, it's my home track, Michigan. I will try to make that one. I'll try to make Nashville too, but in the past I've been really good at Michigan. It's my home track. Pocono is really good. Sonoma I kind of struggle, but it can be hit and miss depending on, race context, but I'm okay at Nashville. Top 5 should be feasible, but Michigan is right where I'm gonna feel most comfortable because I've ran a lot of races there on iRacing and won quite a few times. But we got some pretty stout guys in here, Chris Winstone, and got Coulter Clark. I gotta give a shout out to Coulter because he was in the back when the sun was out, but once it went down, his car came alive. So.
And you mentioned the other drivers that kind of, I guess, caught your attention today, one of them being Chris Winstone. I just got to ask, for somebody who is outside of our circle here at Pit Stop TV with Whiplash Racing, Chris Winstone, right? He comes in, I don't know how much you know about him. He's a road racer, GT3 racer by trade, typically runs a Ferrari 296 or even a Ford Mustang on road tracks. How do you feel about him coming in and just picking this right up? I mean, is that worrisome that maybe he's going to beat you on roads and ovals here soon? I mean, I guess he technically did beat you tonight.
No, not too much. I mean, we can call him the SVG of, our league, but he's not New Zealand, but he's a pretty cool guy. I know back at Watkins Glen, we had a little scuffle there with like lap 37 or something like that, but it was just racing. But he's gonna be one to watch out for. I know I do some road racing. I usually participate in like the special events. Back in January, me and a few guys that I've been racing with for a while ran the Daytona 24 and won our split in the LMP2 car. So I think next year we're gonna try it in a GT3 car. I might have to ask Chris for some pointers.
I was just going to say, maybe we can get you in a Porsche Cup car at NARL this summer if you've got Thursdays free. But hey, Robert, congratulations, third place. It's good to see you back towards the front. Hopefully we see a lot more of this coming up soon.
Oh yeah, yep.
Robert Hasong, a big day here at Charlotte. Congratulations, Robert. And that driver of the day vote, it has still not been broken. Coulter Clark, Chris Winstone still tied. It may have to be joint honors today, but let's take a look at, again, this schedule coming up the next few weeks for the All-American Racing Network Next Gen Cup Series, brought to you by Bully Dog Coffee Company. Well, these are the standings. I'm sorry, that's the wrong graphic. I'm thinking about schedule here. There we go. The standings. I was just looking at the standings while I was talking to Robert, actually. They've already been posted on the league side. Of course, we don't have a graphic for it yet, but not too many changes. It's mostly the same. That cut line is getting more and more interesting, though, as we move on in the schedule. Again, next up, it's a relatively short race at Nashville next. Only 113 laps. A shorter one for these guys. Then a couple of longer races at Michigan and Pocono. And then we have, of course, the road course at Sonoma, back to an intermediate, at Chicagoland, and then come Dover, we will be all-star racing, I believe 4 points still, excuse me again, the hiccups are getting me, but points racing, all-star race technically at Dover. It'll be a fun format, it sounds like. Doug and I'll be working on that here shortly. Then Indianapolis, so on and so forth throughout the summer. A lot of great races coming up. That vote is still tied. If you're out there and you haven't voted yet, get to the YouTube chat, get your vote, and if you're watching on a different platform, please switch over at least briefly to YouTube, get your vote in, or we're going to have to give two guys driver of the day here today at Charlotte. There you see the next three broadcasts, at least as they're currently scheduled here at Pit Stop TV. The Eldora Speedway tomorrow night for the NORA Retro Cup Series. No fantasy for this one. We're just going to have some fun in the dirt with dirt late models. Should be a lot of fun for their Prelude and On Points exhibition event for those guys tomorrow night. Then Tuesday, the next couple of Tuesdays actually, a couple of points races for the BRB Sundance Pro Series as they approach their summer stretch. It'll be at the Daytona Road Course this Tuesday evening, and then next week it's out to Indianapolis for them. I'm trying to stall, I promise. I'm trying to just watch for the first break of that vote. It hasn't broken yet, so we'll take, of course, one more look at those who help us out here at Pit Stop TV. That's going to be Whiplash Simcams, MXWraps.com, ATVO, Murtis Esports, CC's Business, the North American Racing League, Whiplash Creative, and TZO Designs. And it's going to have to be joint honors, it seems, for driver of the day this evening. There is a look at Coulter Clark. He will get half of driver of the day here today. Chris Winstone will grab the other half. There is car 37. So joint honors between these couple of Pit Stop TV Whiplash Racing teammates. Technically, the vote actually on YouTube broke it down and gave it to Coulter, but they have the same amount of votes, so we'll split it between them. That will do it for us this afternoon now from Pit Stop TV and the Charlotte Motor Speedway, virtually at least. Thanks so much for joining us. It has been a pleasure as always. I think we've gone over everything. Just make sure you tune in for everything we have upcoming. Next up for us, again, tomorrow night, it's the prelude for the NORA Retro Cup Series. We'll be heading to Eldora with dirt late models. Do not miss that. It's going to be a bunch of fun. I'm very excited for those guys to trade in their typical 2003 NASCAR Cup cars for some dirt late models tomorrow night. Until then, thanks so much for watching. Hopefully we see you again soon, whether it's NORA tomorrow or AARN sometime down in the future. Thanks so much for being here. We'll see you next time.